Good evening, Emma.
Good evening, Dad.
And welcome. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the office. And welcome to another fine episode of...
Fearless Emma Takes on the World.
Yes, we are here recording another episode of Fearless Emma Takes on the World. We missed last week. Because we were a touch fatigued.
What's that?
Tired. We were a touch tired from our hike the previous day, but we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about last week's hike. We're going to talk about this week's hike and all what we've done and the world that we've explored in the last 2 weeks. So we've got a lot to talk about, and I think that you're pretty excited for today. We're kind of rested today. We didn't go nearly as far yesterday as we did the week before, did we?
Nope.
And so what we're going to try to do is we're going to cover both of those hikes, and we're going to talk about that. But today is it's Sunday, February 9th, right?
Yep.
And we've done a couple hikes here in the month of February.
And yesterday was my grandma's birthday, so I want to wish her a very happy birthday.
Well, I thank you for doing that. That is. Do you want to sing happy birthday to her? Nah, let's not do that. I know, let's not do that. But we will wish her a happy birthday. She's going to be able to hear this podcast maybe on her way back from Georgia that she's in right now. And maybe she'll listen to this podcast and hear that Emma is wishing her a very, very, very happy 29th birthday. We're not going to talk about age, are we?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well,
oh, wait, my birthday coming up.
And your birthday's coming up this week. We won't necessarily give out the day, but we'll say it's this week sometime, right?
Why won't you give out the day?
We'll leave everybody in suspense. But it is this week. So
we will do a podcast next weekend.
We will.
Tomorrow, Monday, I have school off.
Yeah, but I have to work.
Yeah, Memorial Day next Monday.
Not this upcoming Monday. It's actually President's Day.
Oh.
But that's okay.
We can do it Sunday when... Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll figure it out on a schedule.
Well, welcome to Sunday evening, our time to podcast, to review the week in hikes that were... And so I think with the first, what we need to probably do is
last weekend.
We need to talk about last week. So last week we did probably our longest hike to date.
Yep, and I was about to beat you with a stick.
So we did the longest hike to date, Emma. We did 7.04 miles.
Yeah, and thankfully I had a hiking stick with me.
You did have a hiking stick with you.
So I could whack you.
There was a lot of fatigue brought to us by you, your mom. We had Sabrina with us.
Mom fell.
Yeah, you fell too.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that a little bit as we continue on this podcast. This Fearless Emma Takes on the World, or Fearless Emma Takes on the Sierra Nevada, and the hiking trails that are provided to us in this area.
California.
In the great state of California, yeah. So we went hiking last week, and like I said, longest hike to date, 7.04 miles. Where did we go? Do you remember where we went last week?
Sierra Nevada.
Well, we did go into the Sierra Nevada.
Pinecrest.
We did go to Pinecrest. We did the Pinecrest Loop, or the Pinecrest Lake Loop, but we also tried to hike to Cleo's Bath. We didn't quite make it to Cleo's Bath because it got to be about 4:30, 5 o'clock, or probably about 4:30.
No, it was past 4:30.
Was it past 4:30? Well, all we know was it was getting late, the sun was setting, and we knew that if we didn't start hiking back soon...
It was midnight by the time we got back to the car.
It was not midnight by the time we got back to the car. But, so, I'll at least give you, since we always talk about the All Trails app, again, all our trail hiking and our trail finding is brought to us by the All Trails app. And we did hike the All Trails, I did search for our hiking adventure through the All Trails app. And I'll at least give the synopsis provided by that app. For Cleo's Bath. So Cleo's Bath Trail via Pinecrest Loop is a 6.7 mile heavily trafficked loop trail located near Pinecrest, California that features a lake and is rated as moderate. The trail offers... Yeah. I think maybe moderate is we should probably use that as in a different kind of sense.
What's moderate?
Moderate is like we have easy, moderate, or hard. Most of the trails that we do are moderate, but the trail offers a number of activity options and is best used from May until October. Dogs are also able to use this trail, but must be kept on a leash.
Yay!
Yeah, so Cleo's Bath Trail is actually on the backside of the Pinecrest Loop Trail or Lake Loop Trail that we started on, and then your dad called an audible about halfway in and said, "Hey, let's go to Cleo's Bath." And that was after we ate our sandwiches.
Everyone was about to slap you.
I think everybody was all right with it at that point.
Until Mom fell, hit her back, and then we kept going, and then you almost fell into that lake. When you were trying to pose and act all cool,
it was a little.
You almost fell.
It was a little slick in that area, but
yeah, I also kept throwing snow at you.
Yeah, there was snow up there. There's not much snow on the trails that we go, but we did see some snow along the trail.
A lot of snow.
A lot of snow. Actually, it was more ice than snow because I think it probably melted and refroze a couple different times. And we had, if you haven't checked out the YouTube videos that we have, you can find our YouTube videos or Instagram post on fearless_Emma on Instagram, or you can check out
our YouTube channel.
Well, they're on my YouTube channel because it's just easier for me to put them on there. But it's at the Dad Bod Strong podcast. Or actually, probably what I'd recommend is just
Mom.
Search for the Fearless Emma Adventure, because I always put in there Fearless Emma Adventure. So if you just search Fearless Emma Takes on the World, you'll be able to find our YouTube adventures on there. But so the Cleo's Bath Trail, it's on the backside of the lake. They call it a pleasant trail through forest and rocky switchbacks at high elevation, and opens up into a river, wading pool, and waterfall area. We didn't get to the waterfall, unfortunately.
No, because we didn't want to stay out there till midnight.
Well, we were running a little late to get to the trail, but that's okay. I think maybe we'll have to do that trail again, and when we do that trail again, we can then talk about the wading pool and the waterfall. But maybe we'll do that when it's a little bit warmer. And when it's warmer, we can go into the wading pool and go into the waterfall. Well, we'll have to see when we get there.
So are you going to bring a bathing suit and wear it under?
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll figure out.
How will you change?
The great outdoors, Emma.
What do people see you?
Well, if they see you, they see you. But I don't think that we're going to have to worry too much about that.
We should book a cabin for a night.
It is very beautiful up there, isn't it?
Yeah, we should book a cabin.
Now, one thing that we did notice with the Pinecrest Lake was it was drained, right?
Yeah.
They had drained the lake down, prepared for the winter or the snow runoff that's going to be happening here in the next couple months. So the lake itself was pretty dry. There were a couple spots where it was still muddy and there was some water still sitting in some areas, but it was drained quite a bit. There was people sledding on the beach, hitting rocks, hitting tree stumps.
Sledding on the beach, you mean the hill?
Well, that's the beach during the summertime. And so they were sledding on the beach.
No, I thought it was a lake.
Well, it is a lake, but that's the beach of the lake. But
no. What?
Well, when we go back and hike it in the summer, you'll
Sabrina?
Maybe. I'm sure she'll be feeling better. One of our hiking partners wasn't feeling too well this week, so she didn't.
Neither was I.
She wasn't able to make it, but that's okay. I know you weren't feeling well, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we continue on in this podcast.
Both me and Mom were sick, and he's like, "Nope, we're going. I don't care if you're sick, but we're going."
Well, Emma, I knew that we weren't going to hike next week because, well, of course, there's going to be a little bit of a sleepover, and we're not going to be able to do our traditional Saturday hike. And unfortunately,
my birthday party is on a Saturday. My birthday party is not my birthday.
I understand, but with it coming up, we wanted to make sure that we got a few extra miles in, and we didn't. We're getting closer and closer to our goal. I'm actually hoping we set a goal of 100 miles for the year. I'll let you know. We're only a little less than or a little more than a month into the year, and we're almost a quarter to our goal.
How much is a quarter?
We are at
22 miles so far.
23.43 miles.
Oh my, 23.43.
Well, so do the math, Emma, and we have approximately 76 and a half miles to go.
I was going to pull out my calculator.
And so your mom just said 500 miles. Mars, how many miles should we walk, or how many extra miles should we go here? What do you think?
I think we should do a total of 500 miles this year.
No.
I think we got it in us.
No, we don't.
500 miles. Well, I'm not quite sure if I'm quite up to 500 miles. 500 miles is a long ways to hike. That's pretty ambitious, don't you think?
No.
You don't think that's ambitious at 500 miles?
What about 200 at least?
That means we're going to be hiking during college football season.
Yeah, so.
Well,
Iowa State.
I won't be able to see the Nebraska Cornhuskers take on all the Big Ten coming up this fall if I'm out on hiking trails.
Well, if they suck as bad as they have, it doesn't really matter.
Well, that's not the point of this podcast. The point of this podcast is to talk about hiking, and we did. So I think we've got to kind of segue back to our discussion about our hike and the hike that was. And we got there a little late in the day, but when we got to the lake, there was definitely a lot of people at the lake. It was kind of surprising to me that how many people were at the lake.
And apparently we're going to have to find a hike in Iowa too, she says.
Yeah, well, there are a couple. I've got a couple ideas that we
Don't
can do.
agree to her.
Yeah, because we're gonna do a trip back home and visit some
For
of our
a
family.
wedding.
Yep, we're gonna visit some family. But when we got up to the lake, there was a lot of people that were.
You really want to turn back.
Well, I didn't want to turn back. I never wanted to turn back.
You were
on
about
this.
to call an audible and find another hike.
No. Why would I have called a audible?
Too many people.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Because it wasn't hiking, because it was a paved trail.
Yeah.
It was like hiking on a sidewalk. You don't hike on a sidewalk.
I mean, you could. It's just got to be uphill.
Yeah, not my flavor. If we're hiking on the trails like we've hiked on so far. But
I almost killed you yesterday.
Well, so we went on the hike last week. We encountered a lot of snow, a lot of ice, saw a lot of nice cabins along the lake. The trail itself, I was highly surprised. We crossed the creek. We crossed a bridge. Was able to see, the snow, or not necessarily the snow, but the runoff from the snow going through that creek. I'm sure that creek was probably pretty cold. But we were hiking, and by the time we got to the backside of that trail, it was probably about 5:30. The sun was setting, and I was determined, since I just bought my headlamps, that
use them.
we were not going to use the headlamps. And we got really close. By the time we turned back around, and by the time we were heading back to the car, it started getting late, and the sun was setting, and and
we told you to turn back a lot.
Yeah.
But you had to get your pictures.
Well, I had to get some video for our YouTube video, or our videos that we post, but it was a little late in the day, and the sun was setting. Yeah, a little late, and the sun was setting, and we started hiking across, and we hiked across the dam. By the time we got to the dam, I started getting a little worried that I was going to have to break out those headlamps because
Why didn't you want to use them? I thought you said you were so excited to use them.
I was excited that I had them. I wasn't excited that I wanted to use them, and we only had two, and our hiking partner that typically is a lot more
prepared didn't have them.
Prepared, she didn't have them. I had a flashlight and the lamps. So by the time we got past the dam, there was a little tricky spot. I'm glad that there was still enough light that we could see, because it was very icy in that space.
I went on my knees.
Yeah, and everybody was starting to get a touch dehydrated, a touch hungry.
I was lightheaded.
I think a lot of us were hangry at that point. We had some peanut butter sandwiches.
If anyone let peanut butter banana.
Yes, you did have peanut butter banana.
I was about to whoop you with that stick.
And should we ask your mom how she enjoyed her peanut butter banana sandwich?
That you made? Let me guess. Low on the peanut butter?
Speechless. So we all know that I make the best peanut butter banana sandwiches for hiking.
Yeah, she complained there was not enough peanut butter.
She did complain about that. But
so you can't say you make the best.
well,
can we, Mom?
We at least had some nourishment on this hike.
And they didn't let me stop again.
We got we got a brand new pack to use that had the kind of the Camelback water system in it.
You didn't let me drink out of it.
No, I didn't want Emma cooties.
What's wrong with Emma cooties?
Well, we had
Emma's awesome.
We had plenty of bottles of water. We were using the new pack. I had my Bear Grylls knife, so in case we got stuck in the wilderness, I could start a fire. I could.
Oh yeah, let's.
And we could build a shelter. We could do all that stuff.
Where would we? Oh no, I'm sorry, but no, there's not enough room to build a shelter.
I would have found sticks. I would have done it. I'm sure.
I would like to see that.
I could have built a lean-to.
We set you out with what you have in that backpack and see if you can survive overnight.
Well, it's a little cold up there at night. I don't think I want to try to do that. I probably want a tent, but
yeah. Well, then don't suggest it because I think that thing would fail. It just tumble right on top of you because you don't have tape, glue, nothing.
No tape. Oh, that's one thing that we got to put in our pack. So we understand that we need.
Smart.
Yeah.
I just mentioned tape.
Yeah.
That's the smart come out of me.
We'll talk about the things that we put in our pack. We probably should have done that earlier, but we hiked the trail. We crossed the dam. The sun was setting. By the time we got past it, it was really dark, and thankfully the lake was drained. Because we were able to walk across the lake and get back to the car. And thankfully, we had to dodge a couple rocks here and there, but it wasn't too terribly bad. By the time we got back to the car...
I grabbed my Doritos and ate them.
You had Chex Mix.
No, I had Doritos.
You had Doritos? Oh, okay.
The week before that was Chex Mix.
Okay. Well,
let's get our facts straight here.
Well, we got back to the car. It was super dark. We were worried that they would have locked the bathrooms by the time we got back to the trailhead.
That would have been bad.
And there were only 2 cars. When we got there, the parking lot was almost...
there was 3.
There was 3, okay.
And then when we got to the car, the other car left.
But when we first got there to park our car to start the hike, the parking lot was almost full.
Yeah.
By the time we left, there were 3. So
that's when you know you should turn back.
We did get we got turned around. We hiked 7.04 miles, the longest hike to date. We were able to see a lot of different things that we hadn't seen before. Saw a lot of neat things of nature that we haven't seen. What would you? One thing that sticks out to me on this hike was the trail itself. What do you think about the hike, Emma? The one thing for me was the trail and the kind of how rocky the trail was.
Are we talking about how much the trail killed me and I was about to beat you with a stick?
No, not necessarily, but I'm talking about the trail itself, how rocky the trail was.
It was rocky enough for me to fall.
Yeah, you did. You kind of stumbled and lost your balance, and
I still have the bruise.
Yeah, and...
Right there, it's like a heart shape.
And that's even with hiking shoes. So we probably need to get you some hiking shoes that have maybe better ankle support. Or we could get me
just ankle braces and I can wear it with the hiking shoes.
Yeah, we probably need to do that. I think that it's going to be one of those things that we need to take a look at and at least provide you a little bit of ankle support as we hike, especially on those rocky trails. But I will say that one reminded me of the very first hike that we did with all the rock and trying to get over all the rock, because it definitely made it a lot more challenging, I thought. Yep. And so as we talk about terrain, I would say that the terrain of that was...
And then no up. Don't walk in the snow. Your ankle gets really cold and wet, and then your shoes get wet, and then you slide and get a heart bruise.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you do not walk in snow.
Don't.
You want to make sure to keep your...
or ice.
Yeah, you want to make sure to keep your feet as dry as you possibly can.
Yeah, I did not think of that.
Yeah. Well, so we talked about the terrain. The terrain was extremely rocky. Physical exertion. Well, for me, and I think I can speak for everybody else that's sitting here listening to this podcast right now that was on the hike with us, is that with it being the longest hike to date, we were definitely very exhausted by the time we finished.
Yep. I was lightheaded.
So I think that the length of the hike, for me, made a lot of difference as we talk about physical exertion. Not necessarily the ups and the downs and those sorts of things.
Oh, I hated those. I like the downs. I like the declines, not the inclines.
But there wasn't a lot of elevation gain or a lot of elevation loss. But I will say that the length of the hike definitely was a big challenge. So for me, those, as I think about that, those are some of those things that I can kind of think about as we're talking about the hike itself. Now for beauty, I think that for me, I thought it was a very nice hike. We got to see a lot of different things. Got to see a lot of the mountainside. Got to see the snow caps. Got to see a lot of that. And so I think that for me, there was a lot to that, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, sleepy. You're still trying to sleep off yesterday's hike, I think.
Yeah,
Eyes are a little
I
heavy.
want to take a nap, but no, I can't take a nap today, apparently. I've tried all day to take a nap.
Well, you've been home pretty much all day by yourself, but...
No, I had to watch the dogs. I don't sleep when I have to watch the doggies.
Yeah, well, I would say that maybe we should rate this hike. How about we talk about terrain first?
I'd say terrain.
Remember, and we got to take into account the snow. We got to take into account the rocky
I'd say
aspect
about
of the
like
trail.
a 7.
Yeah, I'll agree with a 7. So we'll stay at a 7, and so that because of how rocky it was. How about physical exertion? What would you say for physical exertion?
I'd say about like a 6.
I was going to say 7 just because of
like
the
a
length.
7, 6. I'd probably say a 6.5, maybe.
I would say 7.
So
That's going to be like a 6.75.
Okay. Wait, do I add it or multiply?
You just add that. So 7 plus 6.75 is 13.75.
6.75?
6.75.
All right.
Okay. Now we talk about the scenery, the God's creation, the beauty that we saw. I would probably give it a 6.5 for me. I think that there's probably been more
I'd say
beautiful
about
hikes.
A 7.
You give it a 7, so another 6.75. And so those are the 3 values. So go ahead and hit equals.
It equals 20.5.
Yeah, 20.5. Do you think that your mom would agree with our rankings, Mom? Do you think we gave it a 6, about a 6 to a 7 on each of them? Would you agree? Physical exertion, especially, I think we gave it a 7 just because of the length of the hike. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
That's it. Yes? Do you want to talk about your experience on the hike?
No.
Okay, well, the lady of few words. We're trying to get Mom involved in this podcast, and she's sitting here and listening.
She'll speak on your podcast, but when she comes to mine, it's like, nope,
Right.
I'm good. Let's not talk. Unless if you point the microphone in her face.
Well, that's okay. All right, so we would rank the Pinecrest Loop Trail. And I'm just going to say really the Pinecrest Loop because we didn't get to Cleo's Bath. I would say we're going to rank that as a 20.5. And once we do the Cleo's Bath Trail, then we can talk about the trail itself. We can talk about the waterfall, the wading pool, all that stuff. I'm kind of excited to be able to see that, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we can go swimming.
Yeah, same thing with that
Is
natural.
there fish in there?
There might be. I'm sure there probably is. But there was. Remember, we talked about the natural bridge trail where there's a. It allows you to kind of tube through that space as well, which is kind of neat.
We can buy a tube and go through it.
Yeah. So
We need a tube.
That'll be one of those things over the summer. Maybe when we revisit some of these hikes, we can try that as well.
We need to go to this one hike that's like a whiles away, and then we can spend the night there, and then like in the summertime.
Yeah, well, maybe when we exhaust all the hikes in this region, we can find some hikes in some other areas.
No, it depends on the weather.
And it does depend on the weather. We don't want to be involved when it's raining or when it's snowing or anything like that.
Or when it's really hot.
Or when it's really hot. Actually, you probably want to be up in the mountains when it's really warm down where we live. It'll
Why?
probably allow you to cool off a little bit.
No, you don't want to go on a hike that's super hot.
Yeah, well, exactly. But if you go up into the mountains, hopefully it's a little cooler up there.
Yeah.
And we'll go a little higher in the mountains when, come summertime. Well, that's our review for the Pinecrest Loop Trail. Emma, do you have anything else you want to add at least as it relates back to the Pinecrest Lake Loop Trail?
It has to relate?
Yeah, it just relates to that because we're going to keep talking about some other things.
Nope.
All right. Well, one of the things before we continue on to this week's hike that I think we should probably talk about is I think as we have been hiking, we have identified that we need to be a little bit better prepared.
Yep.
We have changed our shoes. We both now have hiking shoes and are a little bit more, have a little bit better traction. We realize that maybe your shoes need some ankle support, so we need to maybe get you some ankle braces that will make it a little bit easier for you.
So I don't have another heart bruise?
So you don't get another bruise. And
it's literally shaped like a heart. See?
Yeah. Looks like a big heart. But
See, Mom?
Looks like it's fading a little bit. That's a good thing. But we both have hiking shoes. We bought a brand new hiking pack that we're able to, one, carry a knife, a fire starter, headlamps, food. So there's four of the major things that we need. Water.
You forgot water. We need water.
No, we got water, so that's 5. What else do we have in there? We have things.
A medical kit.
We have a first aid kit. We have some ibuprofen. So some pain relievers.
That's part of the medical kit.
Okay, I'm okay with that. We talked about the knife, the fire starter. What else do we have in there, Emma? We used it yesterday.
Let me think. Don't say anything. Let me think it.
Okay. Well, while you're thinking, there are some essentials that you always need to carry in the pack. And the one thing that your mom used yesterday was.
Oh, the urinals.
Yeah. So for the ladies that out in the wilderness, the first time that we've had to open up one of those, we're not going to talk about how
I had to carry it.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to leave that in the wild, so we did bring it back with us.
She could have carried it. She had to put it in the backpack instead.
Yeah. Well, when you want to, you never want to. The only thing you want to leave in nature is your footprints. You want to make sure to take.
Pee out?
No. You only want to leave your footprints.
It's you guys be in the wilderness, so wouldn't it be just like that?
Well, I'm sorry, Emma. Gentlemen have different equipment. It makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it does.
But we're not going to quite talk about that.
There was people coming, and we got nervous.
Yeah. Well, we have a new pack. I think maybe for your birthday, we should look at getting you maybe a nice pack.
Hey, that's what you can get me because Mom got all my other gifts.
Emma, these things aren't separate. I'm going to tell you right now, what Mom gets you comes from the both of us. I'm going to tell you that.
No, it comes from her because she's the one who looks at it, buys it, makes sure it's thoughtful.
Okay, well, good. Well, so we were a little bit better prepared. This week, or even last week, we had a lot of that. Now, this week, for food, instead of making the peanut butter and banana sandwiches, we
I
packed...
forgot the hiking sticks.
And the hiking sticks. We've had hiking sticks. But instead of packing our own peanut butter and banana sandwiches, we used Uncrustables, which was actually kind of nice because they fit into the pack a lot easier than the peanut butter and banana sandwiches that I had packed the week before.
I always have one every morning. Wait,
Yeah.
not every morning. Every lunch at school.
Well, they stay a little bit longer because they're frozen, and they by the time we were ready for those Uncrustables, we were ready to sit down and relax a little bit, weren't we?
They take about like 30 or 40 minutes to defrost.
Yeah. So yesterday, so now we can kind of talk about yesterday's hike. Yesterday we went to the where did we go yesterday, Emma? We went to drum roll, Emma. Where did we go yesterday? Oh, Emma doesn't even know. She's trying to get her mom to tell her where we went. We went...
Wait, the Cougar Rock!
All right. We don't necessarily need to yell into the microphone, but we went to the Cougar Rock Loop. So it was definitely a very, very nice hike. And so this is from the All Trails app. The Cougar Rock Loop via the Caldwell Creek and Arnold Run Trail is a 4.1-mile, lightly trafficked loop trail located near Arnold, California, that features a river and is rated as moderate. The trail is primarily used for hiking and is best used from April until November. And then again, dogs on a leash can also benefit from this trail. Now,
Why do they have to be on leash? Why can't they roam free?
well, if you let them roam free, then they're going to go all over the place. And so we got there. One of the things that I will say that struck me as we were driving to this is very close to the San Antonio Creek Falls Trail that we went on. One of the things that struck me about this trail was we had to take a very very tight, narrow road that was not paved and very rough to get to the trailhead.
Yep.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I was getting a little worried as we were coming down.
In the car?
Yeah. Remember we had to drive
I
along.
was used to it. Whenever I have to drive to Grandma's, it's really rocky. So
Yeah, but this one's a little different. It's not necessarily...
It's dirt, and it just felt like the same.
Yeah,
felt a little less.
That's because I drove a little slower. But we got there. We got there a little earlier than we normally do on our hikes. We got there about 11 o'clock, or 11:30, which was kind of nice. There were probably 4 or 5 cars at the trailhead that we were getting ready to park.
It must be really popular.
I think it's really popular. I would imagine that during the summertime it's really, really popular. But we got there. We got ready. You had your mom put on your shoes for some unknown reason. And we set off on our hike.
I was too lazy and sick.
You were sick. You're battling a little bit of a cold, unfortunately. And being
The
up
cold is going around.
being up at about 5,000 feet of elevation in the Sierra Nevada, although being a nice day, it makes it a little harder to breathe. You were definitely a trooper. Now,
I was about to whack you with the stick. How do you call that a trooper?
I won't play the video where you threatened my life a couple different times, but at least we did hike the loop.
I was sick. I could not breathe.
Well,
I had to stop for water. I finished 2 bottles.
Well, we should have probably drank a little bit more. We definitely hiked. It was a good hike. I will say that the canopy...
And a couple of times?
Yeah. I will say that the canopy of the trees there were a couple spots that were really neat, but then there were other spots that the trees had died, that had been cut down.
And those beetles that were in the tree. I don't know what they're called.
The bark beetles were...
Yeah, I'm smart after remembering that.
Yeah, they had definitely done a number on some of those trees, which was kind of disappointing, and affected a lot of those trees in that area. I do see where the Forest Service has definitely gone through and kind of thinned out some of that area, which was kind of nice. It will definitely help come wildfire season, but it is very sad to see kind of what those bark beetles have done to a lot of those trees.
They should kill them.
Well, I wish there was a way that they could definitely do something so that way they don't damage those trees as much as they
Make
have
them
been.
bark beetle proof trees.
Yeah, maybe you can come up with something.
Make the seeds bark beetle proof.
Maybe that's what you need to do. You need to become a biologist or a wildlife expert.
I don't do science.
And you need to come up with an idea of how to stop the bark beetles from impacting these trees, because that was one of the things that was hard for me to see how much destruction those bark beetles have done to those trees.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the trail itself, I will say
There's a
that...
lot of cougar footprints. We gotta see if it's a dog or cougar.
You mean mountain lion?
Mountain lion. No, cougar and mountain lion
Okay.
are the same thing.
Well, one of the things that we saw on the trail was we saw a couple paw prints that we suspect...
It was a dog. That one was a dog.
You think it's a dog. I think it's a mountain lion.
We're gonna do a poll on Instagram and find out.
And what we'll do is, if you check out fearless_Emma and take the poll, is this a cougar print or a mountain lion print? Or
Wait, is it on there right now?
Not yet, but it will be. Is it cougar
Or a dog.
or dog? Is it mountain lion or dog? Mom, what do you think?
Mountain lion.
Mom thinks it's a mountain lion. Emma?
Mom, you're supposed to agree with me.
Emma thinks it's a dog. I think it's a mountain lion.
Yeah, because y'all are stupid.
But, so talking about the trail itself, definitely not as rocky as the trail that we hiked the previous week at the Pinecrest Loop Trail. Pinecrest Lake Loop Trail, right?
Wait, wait.
There wasn't as much rock in the trail that we had to step on and step over.
Yeah.
A much smoother trail. And I kind of like the smoother trail because there were some ruts and things like that we had to navigate. But for the most part, it was pretty smooth the whole way through, I thought.
Yep.
Yeah. And I thought that, for the trail, for me, the terrain itself, we crossed a couple creeks. You can see us crossing those creeks on the Instagram at fearless_Emma, and how we had to step on the stone to get across the creek so that way we didn't get our shoes wet. There was one time I almost got my shoes wet. It was pretty close.
You did. Hold that microphone to Mom's face. Let her tell everyone he got his shoes wet and stepped in the lake. He's trying to lie and say he didn't step in the lake and almost fall in.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how to
Admit.
cross it on the rocks.
So I was trying to be able to video as
No,
I was
I was
crossing.
videoing.
There were a couple times you were videoing, yes. But that was kind of neat, being able to cross the creek. We had to cross the creek several times on the way back, only once on the way to Cougar Rock. But that's about, for the terrain itself, I was pretty motivated. I thought it was, I like hiking the smoother trail. No, I will say that.
Yeah, we started on a road.
Yeah.
You're lucky I told you to check it.
It's a good thing my All Trails app lets me know when we're off trail. It lets us know when we need to turn back around. And thankfully, it doesn't let us get a mile off trail. It only lets us get about a couple hundred feet saying, hey, Tim, hey, stupid, turn around. you need to turn around. You gotta get back on the trail.
Stupid,
Yeah.
put back on there.
Well, there were a couple times where the trail splits and we took a left instead of a right,
No, that
or a right
was you.
instead of a left. But we got back on trail.
Yeah, me and Mom were the smart ones.
Now, I will say, Emma, for the highlight for me of this trail was Cougar Rock. Wouldn't you think? The Cougar Rock is at the very end, or not the very end, but it's on the backside of the loop. And when you get to Cougar Rock, it is a phenomenal view.
Yeah.
You get to see the valley. You get to look out towards the east, and just the height of it, you just look over the valley. The wind coming up off the side of the mountain is very refreshing, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And when I was walking on that rock and sat down, I thought Mom was about to kill me.
Yeah, walking up on top of that Cougar Rock and getting up there to be able to see the view is a little bit nerve-wracking in the sense that
It wasn't nerve-wracking.
if you're
It wasn't nerve-wracking.
If you're scared of heights,
Oh, that's Mom. She almost killed me.
if you're scared of heights, that could be definitely a little bit problematic. But
She did not get up on that rock.
we were up on that rock, checking out the views, seeing God's creation above almost everybody. That was very, very neat. I will say that was the highlight. We ran into a couple other people out on the trail. It wasn't necessarily too terribly busy.
We made friends.
Yep, there were people out there taking pictures, just like what we were doing.
It was like a photo shoot for me. It's like pose.
You were definitely, posing trying to pose for the camera as much as you possibly can.
Hey, it's beautiful out there.
It was very beautiful. I will say that the beauty for me is probably going to be an 8. As I talk
I'd say
about,
9.
You'd say 9.
No, I say it's 10.
You'll say 10, so it's going to be a 9 on average. Now we've already talked about the terrain itself. I will say for me, Emma, the terrain, I'd give it a 5, maybe.
I'd give it like a 6 or a 6.5.
Would you give it a 6.5 though? Really? Because there was no rock.
I was 6. Oh wait, the terrain?
Yeah, the terrain.
I'd give it a 5.
Okay, so 5. So we said 9 and 5, so that's 14. Now I will say that we need to talk about physical exertion. And so as we talk about physical exertion, I will tell you that on the way to Cougar Rock, there were some uphills to get up to the rock itself. And there was definitely some uphill and downhill, but on the way back to finish the hike, there was a drastic uphill as well.
Yeah, I'd say I'll give it about I'll give it about a 6, 7.
You'll give it a 7. I'd give it a 6. So we'll say 6.5. Does Mom disagree with the physical exertion? If you say 7, I say 6.5 or 6. Does Mom disagree with our physical exertion based on the up and the down and how much we really had to work on this one?
No, I agree.
No. So your mom agrees. 6.5 is probably pretty good. So Emma, where are we at?
When you had to go up, it was bad, but it wasn't a lot.
So where are we at?
What was that thing for our last hike?
The last hike, the Pinecrest.
Like, what was the number we came out with?
Okay, so for the Pinecrest Lake Loop Trail, it was 20.5.
Guess what this was?
And for the Cougar Rock Loop Trail,
It was 20.5.
man.
Probably because of the beauty that gave it.
Yeah, the beauty, I think, definitely hiked it up. I think if you're looking for a trail, the trails that I will say that probably have been, some of the more beautiful type of trails that we've done, I will say that this one, and then probably, I'm trying to think, maybe the Table Mountain hike that we did when we got all the way to the top and you could see the reservoir down below. I will say that those are probably the two that we probably rank the highest on kind of the beauty is definitely the eye of the beholder, but I would say for us as we're judging the beauty of the hike and of God's creation, those are the two that stick out for me the most. What about you?
Yeah, those two too. Does Mom agree or disagree?
Does your mom agree? As we talk about beauty, as we talk about those hikes that have been over the course of the time, the two that stick out for Emma and I are Table Mountain and this one because of the beauty of the hike itself.
Do you think any of the other hikes were more beautiful than those two? Agree or disagree?
I will say that the Pinecrest one, there was some.
Pinecrest and Cougar Rock.
Pinecrest and Cougar Rock?
Yep.
You think not Table Mountain was not beautiful enough? I think Pinecrest was but Table Mountain was beautiful and this one were beautiful. So I think you should rethink your answer.
So you're trying to exert some pressure. Well, this is not about exerting. This is about opinions.
This is a democracy here.
This is a democracy. Well, you're trying to run a dictatorship right now as we talk about how we judge how beautiful hikes are. I
am the queen on beauty.
I think as we go on, we'll find more beautiful hikes. I really do. There are a couple that are a little bit longer that I want to try as it gets warmer, as the sun stays out longer. But we'll get there. Now, I will say one of the things that, so as I think we're kind of done talking about the hikes themselves. But one of the things that I feel from the hikes that we've done, and what I think I've appreciated the most, is being able to see parts of California that we haven't seen before. Being able to go to some of these small towns and enjoy dinner at some of the restaurants in some of these small towns. The week before, we went and ate in Jamestown, and we ate at
a taco place.
Yeah, at a Mexican restaurant.
I had baby food.
It was probably one of the. It was. You did not have baby food.
The beans looked like baby food.
Most refried beans too. But
Yeah,
I will say that's probably one of the better Mexican places that I've eaten. It was really good. I was really impressed. We went and ate at a
It
pizza.
wasn't greasy.
That's right. It wasn't greasy. We went and ate at a pizza place yesterday in Murphy's, California. Definitely at one place that we hadn't eaten before.
Second pizza day in a row.
Yeah, we had pizza twice in a row. That's okay. I could probably eat pizza 5 to 7 days a week.
We're probably having macaroni and cheese tonight with how much Mom bought at the store today.
And we have bought a few things at Costco to be able to satisfy your internal desire of macaroni
I get
and
mac
cheese.
and cheese tonight.
I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
I want mac
All
and
right,
cheese.
Emma, we're not going to be able to hike next week. We're at 23.43 miles.
I think we're good for next week. We hiked 7 miles yesterday. Not
Or
yesterday.
You mean last
week.
Yeah.
So I think that we can take credit for that one.
We can maybe take a Saturday off.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to enjoy yourself at Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
You're gonna come. You're gonna take the truck.
Well, we'll talk about that later. We'll figure out all the how we're gonna get everybody, because you're gonna have friends over.
3 friends.
Yeah, so you're excited for that.
3 girls.
I don't know if I'm nearly excited for that, but
My friends are not that bad. They're not girly girls.
all right, Emma. Now we need to transition. We need to close out the show.
That look you're getting.
We need to close out the show. We're gonna close out the show, but before we do,
With our jokes section.
Wow, my eardrums are ruptured, and I'm having a hard time, being able to hear anything else. Thank you, Emma. All right, we're gonna close out this episode of Fearless Emma Takes on the World by telling some of our favorite best dad jokes that are out there. Emma, I'm gonna start. Where do you learn to make ice cream? Where do you learn to
Ice Cream Topia?
No, at Sunday school, Emma.
I get
It's
that.
a Sunday. How could you not get that? That's it.
I
Today's.
get it.
I know you get it now, but
No, I got it from the beginning. Sundays are type of ice cream and then
I know. All right.
like today. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Cows go.
Cows go. Who?
No,
No.
silly. Cows,
Cows
go,
go
moo.
moo.
Have I said that one?
I don't know, but I could kind of pick that one up.
Yeah.
All right. So how about this one? Why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself, Emma? Why could the bicycle not stand up by
It was
itself?
two-wheeled.
Well, kind of. It was too tired. Get it? Two tires? All right.
What do you call a boomerang that won't come back?
A frisbee?
Nope.
What?
Guess. No, give another guess.
I don't necessarily have any other guesses.
A stick.
A stick? Oh, goodness. All right.
Hey, it won't come back.
You're
It's
right.
a straight boomerang.
All
Like,
right. I
it's
get
a
it.
boomerang that went straight. It's a stick.
You don't have to. You don't have to explain the joke to me anymore. I got it. All right, and I got another one for you. I used to hate facial hair.
Why?
Well,
Why?
but then it grew on me.
I get it.
All right, you got one more, and then I
Yeah.
got one more.
What kind of tree fits in your hand?
What type of tree fits in your hand? A palm tree?
I got one more after you.
I am awesome. All right, this is my last one. I knew I shouldn't have had the seafood because I'm feeling a little eel.
Get that.
All right, Emma, you close out the show with your best
knock.
dad joke. Who's there?
Tank.
Tank who?
You're welcome.
Well, I think we did that one last week, but
No, I didn't.
all right. Well, anyway,
That was
Emma,
first season ago.
you did it in the first season. Well, we're going to close out today's episode of Fearless Emma Takes on the World. I want to thank you. I want to thank your mom for joining us again in studio in our house.
Do you have any closing-
Bella and Stella.
Do you have any closing words?
Does your mom have any closing words? No, she's just shaking her head. She doesn't have any closing words.
Bella and Stella are getting into a
Emma, I want to tell
pickle.
everybody that if they're listening to this podcast, they've been able to find our podcast on all our different podcast platforms. But if you're still searching for other podcast platforms to be able to listen to us on, we're on iHeartRadio,
Radio?
Stitcher,
Spotify,
maybe, I don't know. But
Apple,
we are on Apple Podcasts, and we are on YouTube.
and on a website and on an app.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily an app, but we are
I
on
have the app.
well, not necessarily. There are different apps. You have Apple Podcast app.
No, I have the app where it says Fearless Emma Takes on the World.
And that might just be a link from our website, but that's okay.
What? It's
We
a-
don't necessarily have an app. Not yet. Maybe as we have more and more
We should
listeners,
build an app.
we could build an app. That would be outstanding.
Wait for it, guys. We're going to build an app.
Well, maybe someday. To pump the brakes. But
We have to become more famous.
yeah, we got to become a little bit more famous. But we're on all your major platform for podcasting, also on YouTube. Check out our Instagram on fearless_Emma and be able to watch our videos. You can
We
also
should get
check
a
our
Twitter.
I think maybe I have Twitter. I think I set that up long ago. I don't necessarily post too much on it. But what I would say is, please, everybody, get on our social media, like our stuff. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram. For the most part, that's where we're the most productive and the most we post the most. Like our posts, enjoy our stuff. There's more coming, especially as we go to hit that goal, as we go to hit that 500-mile goal. I don't think we're going to get 500 miles, but
Mom, you're an overachiever.
Let's at least get to 100 miles first, and then we can determine how many more miles we're going to be able to do for the rest of
Probably
the
like
year.
a 200.
Well, I bet you will get more than that, but
Well, like at least 200.
I would just say, everybody stay tuned, and you'll be able to see how far we're going to get. All right, Emma, any closing last words?
You took all mine.
All right. Well, I've taken all of them. I'm glad that we've had another successful episode of Fearless Emma Takes on the World, featuring Dad and Mom
And what's her name?
well, Mom. So Dad
No.
and no, it's always just Dad and Mom and Fearless Emma,
The Star.
the star. Well, yeah.
Don't.
I don't have anything else to add other than yeah. Okay. I'm going to shake my head as we close out this episode. Again, everybody, thanks for listening. Emma?
See you next time. Bye-bye.